Okay, so why you don't need a workout plan or a diet plan. I'm going against some conventional wisdom here, things I've believed in the past and even said on this podcast. If you go back a couple years, I have a whole episode about why you do need a fitness plan, and some of that remains valid. But I'm going to challenge some of the status quo in this episode. And this comes from me doing some reflection lately in my personal life around how I gravitate and feel the need to have a plan, a schedule, in order to feel safe. This is human and there's nothing wrong with it. I used to be a teacher and I know that consistency and regularity is so important for development and learning and growth. So I'm not denying that, but sometimes we can replace a plan with our own knowing and with what will actually keep us safer in the long term. So I'm going to bring in some nuance. I don't ascribe to just black and white thinking. We're going to go into a little bit of the weeds, and I want you to list while you're listening to this. There's a reason you clicked on it, this episode. Ask yourself, does this ring true for me? And maybe there are areas in your life where you can let go a little bit more. And if you do listen to this podcast, you might relate to that. There might be some of you listening might need more of a structure and plan in order to have more connection with yourself or to be in a healthier place. Everyone is different. So I just want you to listen and see where you fall. And know that this is coming from me processing some, always processing things. I'm very active in therapy and I'm always reflecting and thinking about, what comes up in my life and why it comes up. And if you have had some trauma in your life, if you've grown up as a minority group, you understand that in some ways in this world, it kind of, not in always a negative way, but it kind of sets you back and that you have extra work to do. And that's what I definitely feel often is like, I just got a little extra work to do. And it can be tiring, yes. And I know I'm whole as I am, but we can't deny the context that we grow up in and how that shapes us. So I grew up in a really religious home. I've shared this on the podcast before. And there were clear rules about what was right and what was wrong. And the consequences of not following those right, quote unquote, right rules went beyond you're just a bad person or better luck next time. There were serious consequences like going to hell. Suffering for eternity. That's a pretty big consequence. If you didn't say things sincerely enough, if you weren't saved, and then there were processes for if you did make mistakes or sin or transgress, you had to confess. And there were so many rules to follow. And so it makes sense in that framework and that way of thinking that rules and plans and knowing what to expect can make you feel safe, because if you know what to expect and what plan to follow, then you will avoid the mistakes that will cause eternal suffering, right? I also grew up with the military for most of my childhood and a lot of my life. I grew up around military culture. My dad was in the Army and our church was for military people. So that is also a place where you hear a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And there's a lot of systems and hierarchies in that world as well. And yes, again, certainty can give a sense of safety and it's important. I was a kindergarten teacher. I was a teacher for a while and I could see how important regularity, consistency, the kids knowing what to expect that day, that week, targets and goals were helpful for their development and learning. And I'm not denying that. But my invitation to you is to ask, is my plan getting in the way or is it supporting me? And your answer might be different depending on where you are at in life, your personality, or your stage in your health journey. But would it be better for you to have less of a plan, whether that's in your workouts or your diets? Or can you let go a little bit more? Safety is in connect. So I'm going to define safety a little bit more. Safety is how I'm defining it is basically connection with ourselves and feeling connected with who we are and with the world around us in a way where we feel like we belong and there is no immediate actual threat. Okay. And I like this. I learned a couple months ago, this guy, this therapist, doctor guy was talking, Alex Howard was talking about anxiety. He was giving this whole series on anxiety. And one of the things he says is anxiety comes from leaving ourselves. And he broke it down into these different categories: physical anxiety, mental, emotional anxiety, and how we can cope with it. And if you're like me, you understand what anxiety is. A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and it was started before then, I'm sure. Just like depression, hey, good friends, good cousins. Okay, anxiety comes from leaving ourselves. So it's this sense of like, we have safety within ourselves. And I believe this, like when we are connected with ourselves and the world around us, we feel a sense of safety and peace and belonging. And when we go out, whether it's worrying about the future or worrying about things going wrong or overthinking the past, we leave ourselves to some degree. And soon after I did this series, I watched Dochi's Anxiety on YouTube. She came out with her music video for it. It's good, it's fun, watch it. And had the Korean subtitles on my video, and I remember the translation for anxiety. The word in Korean is 불안감 or 불안감, and 불 is like a negative marker. An is in and gam is feeling, if you break it down. So like, it's almost like Korean has this really helpful way of framing anxiety as not being in yourself, not being in your feelings. So if safety is in connection with ourselves, sometimes plans, and by plans, I mean like a diet plan or a workout plan or having specific targets to hit in your fitness, sometimes they can support connection with ourselves. And when I'm saying that, I'm thinking of like, if you are in recovery, having a diet plan can help kind of get you back into normal, quote unquote, normal eating, or getting your body back on track into absorbing food in a healthy way. Or if you are completely new to exercise and you have no idea what to do, a plan can give you some structure in understanding how things work and get your body, kind of like learning to speak a new language. Your brain has the capacity to do it, and you can have tools like writing and grammar and lessons and all this stuff to support it. It doesn't mean that you have to have it, but it can be helpful. But sometimes, although plans can support connection with ourselves in some ways, sometimes they can replace connection with ourselves. So sometimes plans can support connection with ourselves, and sometimes they can replace or hinder connection with ourselves. And that's what I want to share with you today. And again, connection is being in our whole authentic selves. And you know it. You know when you're being yourself. You know when you feel like you can be yourself with other people, and those go hand in hand. Sometimes it helps to have someone we can be ourselves with to help reflect, oh, this is what it feels like. And sometimes it just takes practice being ourselves first, and then it's easier to be ourselves with other people. And when we are not our whole authentic selves, we get depressed, we get anxious, it's like we're fragmented and we're unhappy, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So connection is being in our whole authentic selves. That's how I'm defining it. And again, I'm going to give another disclaimer, because we're not going for black and white thinking. I'm not saying just throw out your plans and completely, fuck your plan and never have one ever. It can be helpful to have scientifically researched and evidence-based templates to use in conjunction with, how your body responds to things. And I'm thinking about do 3 sets of 12 reps or of this exercise, and then do 3 sets of 12 reps of this exercise. And it can be helpful to be like, having a healthy fat and carb and a complex carb and a good source of protein. That's a great way to template or model your plates. And that can be helpful, but as you evolve in your connection with your body, as you learn more, you may need to let go of your rigid plan for diet and exercise. And I'm going to give you an invitation to follow these ways of being over doing a specific plan. Okay, so this is not a mandate. This is an invitation to choose. I'm going to share with you these ways of being over doing a specific plan. Okay, so think about these qualities. And even if you are on this side of like, I have no idea what I'm doing with food and exercise, or it's a mess, it's all over the place, there's no structure, there's no rigidity, this is still completely and absolutely applicable for you. It's just as applicable for you as if you're on the camp of, if I don't do my 12th rep, I feel off. Or if I don't get my, steps in for the day, I feel uncomfortable. Or if I don't get my target macros, I feel like I failed, or whatever, whatever it is for you, whatever your plan is, or whatever your goals are. So I want to invite you, not a mandate, not a command, but an invitation to even just be curious about these ways of being. You might not even practice them, but you might try them and see how they feel. Okay, so I'm going with P's. I'm going to alliterate here, and we have four P's. And of course, the words might just land, and you might let them go through your ears. But I want to flesh them out so you can feel them and what I mean when I explain them. So we're going to do it in order. So instead of your plan with a P, we're going to go with other P's. Okay, push a P. I'm pushing P. I'm pushing P on you. I'm pushing P. Push a P. The first one is having purpose with values. So starting with a purpose. And oh, Michelle, why are you talking about this when we're discussing workout plans or a specific diet plan or nutrition targets? Purpose. This is everything. This is like the soul, the driver, the compass, the North Star, your purpose with values. And I'm not saying you have one specific purpose that you have to find. Maybe you ascribe to that, and that's okay. And I believe that we create our own purpose just based on what we want. So think about what you want. And this is this purpose with values. So like, you don't have to have a specific way of doing something, but you can embody certain qualities as you do them. So what are some of your values? Like, what is something that's important to you? And some people have very specific, clear values that they ascribe to throughout their lives, and you don't have to do that, especially as you're listening to this podcast. That might be a big ask when you're, multitasking or doing something else. I doubt that you're just sitting and listening to this. If you're anything like me and other people I know, you're probably walking or working out even, or riding, driving, or doing some task while you're listening to this. So I'm not asking you to just sit down and write down all your heartfelt values, but just thinking about like, what's important to me? How do I want to show up in the world? And how does this align with how I want to show up in the world? Like, how does exercise and movement and my diet, like, how does this align with how I want to show up in the world? So this is less target-based and more presence-based, or more in the moment based. How do you want to show up in the world? What are your values? Something that's important to me and that has been important to me, I have several, and I'm looking at my wall right now. I see joy, freedom, trust, love, and growth. And those are some of my values. Some of them have shifted, but something that pretty much remains constant is freedom. Freedom is so important to me. I think if you remember how I shared about my religious upbringing, you can understand. And if you can relate to it, you probably have this sense of valuing freedom as well. And this whole podcast is called Fitness Freedom. Yeah, freedom is important to me. I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with people I want. That's one aspect of freedom. And there's also a sense of like not being tied down by any specific identities or boundaries. And that comes out, and I express that freedom with exercise and with food. So I give myself so much freedom to choose what I want and to be flexible with my workouts. And the cool thing is that, say, for example, I'm just giving this example of my value of freedom. When I exercise that value, it leads me in a way that is empowering and enjoyable and satisfying for me. So I have the freedom to choose to do a workout. I have the freedom to not choose it, but it's coming from a place of choice. And I love doing that. Like, it makes me enjoy exercise more. It makes me enjoy eating more because I know I always have choice. So what is a value that you have? You might even ask, like, why am I even doing this? Why am I exercising? Why am I choosing this way of eating? What do I really want? What do I want? And I go through this in my program, in the 4-H method. I have lots of lessons and resources around this. If you join, you can go in deeper. But yeah, why is this important? What are my values, and how can I put that and infuse it into a bigger purpose in my life that goes beyond just, I don't know, 3 sets of 12 reps or getting 30 grams of protein this meal. Okay. So purpose with values. Next is practice with awareness. And practice is such a good word because it does embody this sense of presence. It's not even progress, it's practice. It's this idea of showing up and doing the thing and getting a little better at it each time. And the way that you get better at it each time is with awareness. So say, for example, you're doing a workout and you decide to do a certain amount of reps, you pick a number or a certain exercises, or maybe for you, it's like you're gonna go on a walk or a run or go on a bike ride, whatever, a swim. Practicing with awareness would be noticing what comes up in your body as you're doing these things. And a lot of the times I've seen in my work is exercise can be a way that we escape ourselves. It's like a way of leaving ourselves, to use that anxiety term. But practicing with awareness is different. It's showing up and being curious, and even with your food, not having those labels of this is a good food, this is a bad food. You could eat carrots and your body could have a negative response and harmful response. You could eat sometimes cookies could be the best thing that you could eat at that time. So noticing what is actually coming up and practicing. Okay, I noticed that when I did this, my body responded this way. Next time, I'm going to remember that data and incorporate it into my practice. This sense of practicing, not perfection, not even progress, not getting somewhere, but just showing up and practicing. And that can be so healing, especially if you have been in this mindset of, oh, I always need to accomplish something. I always need to move for a purpose. I need to burn these calories, or I need to get this goal. Just practicing with awareness can be taking away that end goal and just being here. And that's what we practice. We practice in the 4-H method. It's practicing this with your movement, practicing this with food, and having so many resources and structures and support to help you with it, to make it easier for you. And the next one, this is similar, but I'm just going to go a little bit deeper, is presence with being, presence. So we have purpose with values, practice with awareness, and then presence with being. And this is all about being with what is in the moment. And this is really hard for us to do. Our brains don't naturally do this. Our brains are usually somewhere in the future or somewhere in the past or wanting to be anywhere but here often. But our bodies are great at being present. Our bodies, if we can tap into what is happening, our bodies are wonderful at being present. So when you're moving, whatever exercise you're doing, and again, we're taking out the plan and trying to follow the plan, and we're focusing on being present. So as you're doing a walk, can you slow down a little bit? Can you really feel your feet on the ground, even if it's just a moment? Can you feel how your hips shift as you walk? Can you notice how your arms naturally move? And then also your environment. Notice the colors around you, the textures. Look up. Look up at the sky if you're outside on a walk. And when you're eating, can you slow down a little bit to feel the texture of the food in your mouth, to notice how it goes down in your digestion into your belly, and slow down, and without the presuppositions or the rules in your head around what is and what shouldn't be, can you really just be with your body, be with your breath, be with the feeling and reactions in your body without the stories? When you can do this, it suffuses bliss into your practice. Not always, but often it can. And it allows you, it's almost like this, when you're in the present moment and you're doing these exercising in the present moment, eating in the present moment, it's like it opens this portal, like I was talking about rest as mastery, this magic door. It like opens this portal where more possibilities exist. And the cool thing, and this is what I want to put in your ears too, is when you follow the plan, you're pretty rigid with, okay, I'm going to say this again, 3 sets of 12 reps, and then you stop. Whereas if you can practice a little bit more with presence and being in your body, you might notice sometimes your body might need to do less or do a different range of motion. And sometimes it can do more. But the key is in the presence with the being. And oftentimes, even with food, you might think that you crave this food, and maybe you did a month ago or 10 years ago. And now if you really taste it, you don't like it as much. Or you've noticed that you have a desire or a craving for some food that maybe you've never tried before, or a way of eating that you've never done before. But it all requires just being with what is. So right now, even as you're listening to this, I invite you to feel your toes. Just notice the sensation in your toes, your big toes, right toes, left toes. Is there a certain temperature that you're noticing? Do your toes feel cold or cool, warm, hot? Is there a texture around your toes that you might notice? Can you feel the aliveness in your toes? Can you bring as much of your attention as possible into your toes right now? Can you differentiate in your mind between your pinky toe, the one next to it, the middle toe, the one that went to the farmer's market, and then the big one? Can you feel the difference? Your left side, your right side. That's just being present. That's all. That's all. It's not difficult. It's simple. And the more you practice it, the faster you can access it and the easier it becomes. Last one, and this is where I'm going to go a little bit more into big picture, is, again, let's recap: purpose with values, practice with awareness, presence with being, and then lastly, what I have for you today, principles with flexibility. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not telling you that plans are always bad or you always need to throw out your plans, but something I've learned in my growth, in my recovery, and a more helpful framework is principles and having flexibility within those principles. So I will give you some examples. A rule or a plan might say you need to eat X grams of protein. I'm not even going to say how many grams of protein. I'll take away numbers from this. We'll just say that the diet is you need to eat these many grams of protein every single day. And you need to eat this much at different meals. And I'm guilty of having done this before, especially early on in my career when I was more along the like conventional fitness ways of doing things. I've gone a lot away from that because I realize it doesn't help, it doesn't work long term, and it's very fat phobic, and it's oppressive, and there are so many cultural, social implications to it. So yes, I don't do that as much. And again, if you are in a place of where you are needing to refeed or having recovery, or you are ill and you actually need to follow your dietitian's plan, like I'm not saying disregard that, but for those of us who are not in that situation, practicing principles, and hopefully as you follow your plan, especially if you are in recovery, as you follow your plan, you'll get to this place where you can focus more on principles and have some flexibility where it's more intuitive. But a rule is I need to eat X grams of protein, and then a principle would be, protein is a part of a nourishing diet. I know how it benefits my body. It builds my muscles. It's like it provides energy for the building blocks of my body. It's really satiating, and I feel good when I eat a good amount of protein, and I know what my body likes. And so I'm going to include it in my meals. And if I miss a meal, that's fine. If I miss a day, that's okay too. I'm just going to include it because I know it's good for me. So can you feel the difference between I have to eat X grams of protein a day versus protein is good for me in my body? It's a part of a nourishing diet, and I'm going to include it in my meals, and just be aware of it because it feels good. And sometimes I'll eat more and sometimes I'll eat less, and that's okay. Do you feel the difference there? It's so much more freeing. And another example is I can't eat more than X calories daily. A rule. Don't eat more than, I'm not going to give a number, don't eat more than X calories. Like, this is your limit, follow your limit. If you follow this limit, you'll maintain your weight or you'll lose your weight. Okay, I can't eat more than X calories daily. A more principled with flexibility way is to say, I notice my energy shifts, energy needs shift day to day. As I notice sometimes I feel more hungry and I eat more, and then some days I eat less. And I really enjoy being attuned to the shifts from day to day or week to week or month to month, depending on my activity, my hormones, my sleep, my needs, my age, my stress levels. All these things affect your energy needs. So rigid is I have to eat this many calories a day. Principles of flexibility is, yeah, sometimes I eat more, sometimes I eat less. And that's kind of how my body regulates itself. And this is something that I've embraced. I don't like to get into numbers because it's different for everyone. And I think sometimes it's not triggering, but it's just unnecessary. But I will say that sometimes if I were to tell you how many calories I eat some days, you'd probably be like, whoa, you eat that much? But then the other days I notice like my appetite is lower and I just don't eat as much. And it's not that I'm starving or restricting myself. It's just, it shifts day to day, week to week, especially on my cycle. I notice I have clear cravings and energy differences at different times in my cycle. And I like following it. It's like this, especially if you are a woman and, we live in this world where it's like 24-hour days, work weeks, 8-hour work weeks, where it's just very, I guess, masculine, very centered around the male hormonal stages, cycles, rather than the more feminine menstrual cycles or monthly cycles. And you have permission to let go of that. You have permission to follow the flow of energy that you have. Okay. Another rule could be I have to work out at least X minutes a day. I need to get my 30 minutes in. I have to get my hour in, or I have to get my whatever minutes in. And if I don't, then like something bad will happen, or I'll feel uncomfortable, or I'll feel guilty about what I'm eating. Rather, embracing this principle with flexibility of I enjoy moving my body daily, and it lets me know when and how. And trusting that. My body loves to move. I enjoy it naturally. I don't really have to worry about getting it in, because if I listen to my body and I practice that presence, like My body likes to move, and I notice when I get restless, and I notice when I need rest. And my body will let me know. Like sometimes I'm craving something more cardio focused. Sometimes I'm craving some resistance. Sometimes I want some stretching, and my body lets me know. It's good to have like a general idea around how much you're doing, but again, that's a principle with flexibility rather than a rule. And then lastly, I'll just share this. I must get X steps a day. That's your rule. I need to get blah, blah, blah every single day. More principle, flexibility. I notice I feel better when I move my body. And so I'm going to make this a priority. And I will say with these principles in the second parts of this, be aware that so much of this comes from diet culture, so much of our beliefs and the way that we see food and exercise and our bodies come from distorted ideas around fitting specific standards that are just in the water. And if you would like to get more of that, go to my website, emmaroscoe.com, get my Fitness Freedom Masterclass. I believe it's in the show notes as well. So if you hit the details of this episode, you'll see it. You can get it for free, and it will definitely empower you and give you some tools to help support you in getting away from that murky water and finding a way of fitness that works more for you, finding more principles that work for you. So as I finish this up, we have these 4 P's. Pushing P, I'm pushing P on you as a personal trainer and a podcaster to curiously ask yourself if your plan is keeping you safe or if it is hindering your safety and connection with yourself and being in yourself, and to consider a different way: purpose with values, practice with awareness, presence with being, and principles with flexibility. And if that feels scary for you, my invitation is to try it even just for a day, a week, see how it feels, notice the differences. And whether you are not someone who's working out regularly, or you feel like, oh, you're on the side of I really need to, like, quote unquote, do better with my diet, or you're on the side of like, yeah, I'm really rigid and compulsive and I think I need to relax a little bit. I encourage whoever's listening to this to try this and see how it feels. It's not a rule, but it's an invitation to choose these ways of being. And I really think that I believe these ways of being are best for longevity, for enjoyment, for expression of yourself. And that's really so important. And that's the thing that you can't measure, is like, if we all follow cookie cutter rules, it takes away this element of self-expression. And everyone's body is different. Everyone's body's experiences and histories and memories are different. And so you're going to have your own unique way of practicing. And you can't discover that if you're only following rigid plans and rules. So the more you get connected with your body and trust your body, the easier this becomes. And again, I will invite you, if you want to do this work and do it in a place that's safe and in connection with beautiful people, including me, come join the 4-H method. It's really the cool place to be for your fitness and health. And I hope that this was helpful for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, anything that came up for you. Feel free to share in the comments or email me, message me on Instagram, and have a most beautiful, safe day.